I'm hanging in the sunshine. You should hit me with the splash gun so I cool down. Won't you come on over? We can party till the sun's down. Baby, let me buy you a drink while we're dancing a blink. I could go for some Queen Bee too. Lazy's going boom boom. If you're looking for some crazy, I'll tell you everybody's standing by the line for the water slide. You can come on over. We can take the roller coaster. And you know everybody's looking for a ride in the water slide. On a wave of good feelings. Well, it's just another Friday in paradise. So bring your A game, cause you know this party won't stop. We could never run out of time, sipping strawberry lime. You know I wanna share it with you. Lazy's going boom boom. If you're looking for some crazy, I'll tell you everybody's standing in a line for the water slide. You can come on over. We can take the roller coaster. And you know everybody's looking for a ride in the water slide. It's getting kinda crazy up in here. Got that DJ playing music, everybody wants to hear it. It's getting kinda crazy up in here. Everybody wants a ride in the water slide. 3, 4. If you're looking for some crazy, I'll tell you everybody's standing in a line for the water slide. You can come on over. We can take the roller coaster. And you know everybody's looking for a ride in the water slide. Water slide. Yeah, it's a hot day. I'm hanging in the sunshine. You should hit me with the splash gun so I cool down. Won't you come on over? We can party till the sun's down. Baby, let me buy you a drink while we're dancing a blink. I could go for some Queen Bee too. Lazy's going boom boom.
Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Buy me a drink. Now that sounds like a great idea. Ooh, now, I can't show you the label, remember? This YouTube will not be happy if I show you the label. Here we go. Here we go. ASMR. I know you see this every week, but I just love it. I crack up every time I do it. Here we go. ASMR. Ooh, 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 ooh. Oh, hang on. Hang on. Here we go. Nectar of the gods. Look at my hat. It's a bit... It's getting old, this hat now. I just put it on because then it stops the glow from my head, but let's... It's got the character, that's the thing, isn't it? It's all character. How are we, everyone? Just popping in for a bit of news today. It's not going to be a long one because there's not heaps of news, but probably go for about half an hour or so. But I've got some interesting ones to go through, so it's going to be a bit of fun, which should be very, very interesting. So let's just see who is here. Love it if you are here. If you could give a thumbs up, does let people know that I'm on live. And, you know, like and share. So if you can do that, please do it. Remember, I am unsponsored, so every bit of help is great. Richard is saying, greetings from cold Las Vegas. WPPI begins March the 5th. Yeah, it's not long off, is it? I remember a couple of years ago I was there. Must be all getting excited now for WPPI. Nizza says, I don't want to chat, just want to watch your video. Dana says, hello from Florida. G'day, buddy. How are you? Hero says, notification gang is also saying, greetings all. David said, hi from Boston, David. Glad to make a live one. Well, glad you're here, mate. Salmon says, hello from North Dakota. Salmon says also, what recommendations do you have for a video editing monitor photography? Well, I haven't got any. Look, you can spend an awful lot of money getting professional grade monitors, but I don't. I just use any monitor that I've got and I calibrate it. I use iProfile, so that's the one that I'm using to calibrate my monitors. One Profile 1, I think it is. I use those and I calibrate them all the time. I mean, at the moment, I'm using a 48-inch Samsung in front of me. And I've also got an LG 4K one over here, and I've got another 4K LG over that side of me as well. And another, I think it's a 4K one above me, which is a Lenovo. But the one I'm using most of the time for all my editing and stuff is the Samsung. I do like to also calibrate the Samsung, but I like to leave the other monitors uncalibrated, because what I'll do when I'm editing photos is I'll have a look on my calibrated monitor, so that means that it's everything I know is correct. Then I'll drag it over onto a uncalibrated monitor to sort of see what most people out there would look at, because remember, 90% of the people that you're going to be sharing this to will not have a calibrated monitor, so I like to do that to make sure that I can see it from both perspectives. So yeah, I probably wouldn't worry too much. I'd just make sure that you calibrate whatever you have. G'day, Jason. How are you, buddy? Good to see you here again. Jason's got a couple of great channels, a music one I follow. I've put my first music video up now. It's under the Ordinary Guitarist, so check it out, Jason. See what you think. You're probably going to laugh. But Jason also has a really good photography channel as well, so he's got a couple of great channels there. Roger says, hello everyone as well. David says, character old. I'm not sure what that means. David, Rochelle, g'day buddy, I haven't seen you for a while, David. Good to see you here. Roger said, greetings from Norway. Doug also said, greetings, David. Boom, boom, Doug from PA. Flat screen or curve? No, the one I've got in front of me is a curved screen. The others are all flat. So that's that. I mean, I have got also a 1080 monitor behind me there, which is connected to the Xbox that I play. So that's what I use for the Xbox as well. So I've got, what have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 monitors in this room. There's another light too. I don't know whether you can see it. I've just got a light here. I did the review for this light yesterday, I think it was, or the day before. Check it out. This light from Fieldworld is amazing. It's got 225 watts of power. It's actually the brightest light I've ever used in a studio type scenario, so for LED. So check it out. I mean, you could get basically up to F9. It was nuts. So check that out if you haven't seen that video yet. Brett's here as well. G'day, Brett. How are you, mate? Good to see you here. So let's get. Hang on, I'll just have another. Just to start the show. It's a hot day today. It's showing as 30 degrees Celsius here at the moment. First story today is a really interesting one, guys, because I'm quite excited about this. I love my ZVE10. In fact, I have that right above me, up there. At the moment, I'm using the A7S III, which is straight in front of me, and I'm using the ZVE10 above me there, and I've got an A9 actually on this side that I was using yesterday to film this light that I was using when I did that review. So I love the ZVE10. I love basically everything about it. even though it's an APS-C camera. But this is interesting because they're talking about having a full frame version of it. And this is quite exciting. So I don't know whether this perhaps would replace the A7C. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it replaces that camera and then they don't bring out an A7C camera. I'm not sure they would need both, but I'd love your opinion about this. But the specs alone, though, may change because it's interesting what they're saying. Well, let's have a look because I just saw the picture and I thought I'm going to go through it with you guys. So it just says verified rumors. So it just says back in January, I got word Sony would announce a vlogger-focused ZV full-frame camera. So it sort of does make sense to me that they would do this because the ZV-10 is great, but like I said, it is APS-C. So if you do want to say get something nice and wide or whatever, it's hard to get really wide angle stuff with a ZV-10. You can if you put something like the 10 to 18 on or something like that, but it'd be great to have that full frame glass that you could use on it too. It's saying this was a fixed lens model. I was wrong, and I'm happy about that because I really would prefer to have a camera that you can use your lenses that you've already got. In fact, the rendering they put here, I think, had the it was just like, your barrel lens that comes out. It's just a fixed lens. So I'm hoping that is, in fact, correct, that was wrong, and that it's now going to be, you can just use all the E-mount lenses on it. More reliable info, it will definitely be announced in late March, and the price will be below $3,000. So that is really cool. It also says, I hope to get some verified specs soon. And he's got unverified rumors here. And as of now, I can only share this unverified specs. So what they're saying here is a new ZV-FE E-mount camera is based on the Sony A7S III. Yeah, I think that's A7S III. Might be the ZV-E100. 12 megapixel sensor, 4K 60, 4K 120 no crop, no EVF, cheaper than the A7S III, now over $3,000 euro. Well, that would have to be if you haven't got an EVF in there. So that's interesting. Let me just keep coming down and I'll come back to sort of summarize this up. So it seems to be something like a baby A7S III for vloggers. What do you think about this? Personally, I don't care much about it, but apparently the vlogger market is booming and Sony has to fill that niche. Now, there's going to be more rumors coming out tomorrow or something. So, like I said, now, this is interesting because what they're saying here is that this is going to be a baby A7S III. So I'll take back what I said about it's a replacement for the A7C. I hadn't read this yet because the megapixels just don't justify that. Because remember, the A7C was based on the A7 III. And I think now reading these rumors, we probably will see another A7S III that's based more on the A7 IV. But this is really quite exciting. If you just wanted a vlogging camera that, will still take great photos. I love my A7S III for photography, so the 12 megapixel sensor doesn't bother me at all. The couple of little things, I suppose, there's no EVF. That would worry me because I do like to use the EVF, particularly if it's very, very sunny, and it always is in Australia. And basically, if you want to get critical focus and things like that, it's always nicer to use an EVF. So that worries me as well. But if you wanted to save money, I'm quite happy using my ZV-E10 without the EVF, so I have been using it. So, it might be a camera down the track that, if you wanted to just grab something that's probably going to be reasonably small and light, the cost may be reasonable. It'll be interesting to see what they get out of it. If it does have the 4K 60 and the 4K 120, no crop, it looks like it's going to be a really interesting camera. It could be a great backup camera to something like an FX3 or like a Sony A7S III as well. So it's interesting. Let me know in the chat what you think about this because I'd love to come back and talk to you about it. So the rendering is interesting, whether that's going to be the case or whether they would base it similar to what you've got with the ZV-E10. It's going to be interesting to see what this has. If it's called a ZV full-frame camera, I would think that they would have a similar body. Otherwise, it becomes like an A7C or something. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the chat about that. So that's the first story today, and I think that's quite exciting. So I knew they were sort of talking about a ZV camera, but I thought it was going to be a more high-ended APS-C camera. So this is interesting. Now, another thing as well. Oh, those stupid ads that keep coming up. You can't stop them. Where are we? Let me see if I can just make this a bit wider to get out of it. So this press release here is just showing the Sony full frame 50mm 1.4 G Master camera lens. This is a terrific lens, actually. If you want to go smaller and lighter than the 1.2 version, I think this is a really good lens. I've seen a couple of reviews of it, and basically they're saying it's faultless. So it seems to be that it is a really great lens. And in fact, I think this will be a terrific lens to put on a gimbal because it's much lighter than the GM version, the 1.2. But there's some issues about this in Australia, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But so the price is $1,298, which is reasonably good for a lens of this quality. And I'm just going through if it says some of the specs here. It just says full frame f1 to f22. It's got the 2 linear AF motors now. So the auto-focusing with these new linear motors is amazing. It's dead quiet, super fast, and super accurate. Physical aperture ring and declick ring. I love that. I love how you can declick the aperture here and then have a smooth aperture range. Also, I love having the auto focus and manual focus here as well. So they're great on the GM lenses now. It's terrific. Once you start using those, it's very, very hard. If you use a lens without them, you're always going to look for it. It's just great. G Master design, obviously. It's got all the nano coatings. It's got 11 blade diaphragm, dust and moisture resistant as well. I'm just seeing if it says anything else. Just says the sharp imagery and beautiful bokeh. From what I've seen online, it certainly is beautiful, the rendering that this has and how sharp it actually is. Fast, precise, reliable autofocus now is, I think it's a moot point now with all of the stuff that comes out now. Everything now is just terrific. And they're just saying the pricing is $1,299 United States dollars, and it's $1,799 Canadian. I'm not sure about the price in the US for the G Master 1.2, but I know sometimes I'd be a bit drawn about which way I'd go here. I think if it was me buying this now, I would probably want to go to the f1.2 version, only for the extra light gathering ability, but also the weight can be a factor too. So if you wanted to travel light and put it on a gimbal or something like that, well, obviously having a smaller lens that's much, much lighter, and I'll show the size comparisons in a minute, can have a big advantage as well. I think probably if the money was close, and I think it's only $400 difference here in Australia, I probably would tend to go for the 1.2 version. But that's me, because I just like to have that ability to gain that extra light, because I love shooting in dark locations, and having a 1.2 lens, I would probably much prefer. But if we're looking at the size comparison of these, this will give you an idea about the size comparison. So you can see it's not massively different to the 51.4. What's that one? That's the FE. Oh, that's just the other side. Is it? No, that's a different lens, I think. Oh, that's a Samyang. So it's similar in size to the Samyang. It might be a fraction larger. It's way smaller than the Sigma, though, if you look at it up there. Now, you can see here that the 51.2 is quite a bit larger than what the 1.4 is. So is that the Zeiss 51.4 versus... Oh, no, okay, that's the Zeiss 51.4, and this is the 51.4 here. So it is really small, isn't it? If you compare this lens here to the G Master 1.2, it is quite substantially smaller. So if you didn't mind losing the extra stop, going from a 1.2 to a 1.4, and you wanted to travel much, much lighter, well, it has some advantages in that regard. Like I said, you really would have to decide whether you would like to get a 1.2 lens or a 1.4 lens. I think the quality is probably going to be similar for both of them. I mean, I'd have to try them one against each other to sort of make my mind about that. But like I said, I think I would probably tend to go to the 1.2 than the 1.4 if I was buying now. But that's me, and I'd love to know your opinion on this. Certainly, if you're dealing with wanting to travel light, well, the 1.4 is definitely the way to go. And you can see that from that size comparison there. It's quite drastic if you're looking at those size comparisons. Now, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this before I move on any further. Let me just move this over here. I don't know what's going on with Sony Australia again. I've got no hope of ever becoming a Sony Australia ambassador, because what did we say the price was? $1,298. Now, in Australia, they're charging us $2,299. Now, there may be a little bit of tax, yes, that comes on, but we're still getting ripped off. I just did a currency converter, and the price is basically $1,900 US to Australian, the direct currency conversion at the moment. So that price in Australia is ridiculous. It really is absolutely ridiculous. I've got to move this over so you can see this actually. Let me just drag this over and come back over here. Oh, it's up the top, isn't it? It would be. Let me just drag this up. Where is it? I've got to make it smaller. I just want to show you that I'm not lying about the price. Now, is it going to show it? Okay, finally got there. So the price in Australia at the moment is $2,299, and I looked online actually, and a lot of them are more expensive than that. So I don't know what's going on here. This is the Australia tax typically being pushed onto anything we buy here in Australia. That is a ridiculous price when you compare it to what you're paying in the US. It is nuts. I'm not going to say anything more about that, but it's crazy. Oh, that's the ZA, so that might not be the new version. Let me come down here. It might be worse than this, actually. So is it Zeiss, that new version of lens that's come out? Let me go to... I'm just going to make sure. Let me go to Sony. 50mm 1.4. Let's sort of see what prices they are here in Australia. So now let me shift this back because it'll work now. Let me go back here. Let me open this up. Try again. Once I resize, it'll be all right. All right, so looking here. So the 50, it's not this one, that's a different lens. So the 50 1.4 here in Camera Pro, for instance, is saying $2,499. Now the Sony FE 50 1.2 is $3,049. It's saying here, what's this one? So this is it as well, isn't it? So this is the G Master. Yeah, I think I was showing the wrong lens before. This one is the G Master. All right, so the price looking at this at the moment is 2,000. Oh, it's wrong size again. They keep changing their sizes. Oh, is $2,459. So that's for the G Master 1.4. I mean, it's just nuts. I mean, it really is crazy. We're getting ripped off here in Australia anyway. Well, that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to carry on anymore because it's not worth it. But anyway, let's get back to some of these rumours. So I'll drag this back again so that we're not looking at all of the advertising. Let's come back to here. Make this a little bit bigger. A little bit smaller on this side. Get back to there. Okay, that'll do. And make it a bit bigger. Okay, so a rumour that there's going to be an A7 IV update coming. I've got to make that a bit smaller too at the top. It's annoying me. It's my ADHD. Hang on. Oh, God. No, I'm going to leave it. Yes, so there's a rumor that there's going to be an A7 IV firmware coming out too, coming out the end of February. Now, they're not saying what it is, but it could be something to do with this new software that's going to be announced. I think they're replacing the Sony software that you put on your phones, and it's going to be a new version of that software that's coming out. I believe it's only going to work with some cameras, so it's not going to work with like the A7S, according to the rumors. But this update may be directly related to that. So, you know, it's just, I don't know. But I don't know, again, what's going on here, that we're getting a firmware 2 coming out for the A7 IV. And like it says, note, Sony A1 owners, I hear your cries for help. It is nuts. Like if you've got an A7S III and an A1, you've been left out in the cold again. And it's really, really disappointing. It really is disappointing, but oh well, it is what it is. So it's going to be interesting to see what they add in this. They're also saying that you may get focus stacking, which is really cool. So you're going to focus stacking in the camera. So Aaron will be certainly interested about that. Cool. Anyway, so that's what's coming up there. I thought this was interesting too, because Sigma made a couple of comments in here that I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. So Sigma, this is at CP Plus 2023, said we want to launch more unique lenses. Now, what they were saying here was, and this was the interesting that I thought, here, there's two comments they make here. It says, just like Sony, Sigma wants to develop multi-group AF, which helps increase focus speed as well as image quality. But the next one was really interesting, because it said full-frame lens demand is strong. APS-C lens demand is in decline. And Micro Four Third lens demand is in sharp decline. So I thought, ooh. So that's a really interesting comment, because Tamron, for instance, have been releasing lenses for APS-C, so I would think that they must be doing okay with those. But Sigma obviously aren't doing very well with APS-C, so I thought, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. Love to know your opinion about that, guys. Now, it just says here that, and now is the interesting part, if you read all through this, it looks like what they want to do is to create very bright lenses, long-range telephoto lenses, and ultra-wide-angle lenses. So they're saying here that it sounds like Sigma want to make primes with 1.2 or faster, and hope they will consider making fast f2 zooms as well. So it looks like they're going to be changing their marketing strategy and start to make very fast lenses, and also fast zooms as well. So, boy, we're in for some interesting times, aren't we, when you look at that? All right, so that's it. So I told you it was going to be a really quick one today. How long? Yeah, half an hour. So I'm going to answer some Q&A if you want any questions answered. Someone said, thanks for the feedback. That was talking about the monsters. Okay, that was fine, mate. I'll take the FX30 over this any day of the week. Yeah, I probably would too, but we'll have to wait and see what specs it has. For the love of Pete, they need to get with an 85 GM update or 105. I agree, Ryan, completely. And I don't know why they are not updating that. We did not really need another 50mm. I'm not sure either what's going on there. I'm totally confused. It wouldn't surprise me, if Tamron beat them to it. John's here as well. G'day, John. How are you? Barry's also here. G'day, Barry. G'day, Leslie. How are you, buddy? Long Rider's in here as well. How are you, mate? John said, reviewers are saying the Sigma 50 1.4 is virtually as good and much cheaper. Agree or no? I haven't used it, John, so that would be an interesting test to have. So yeah, if that's the case, that would be really interesting. But it's the size factor with the Sigma, isn't it? That's the massive difference there. Like I showed in those sizes, it is huge compared to what the Sony offering is. And I suppose you're paying for that. You're paying for that size, and I suppose it is a big deal, really. So, Sigma always make great lenses. Long Rider said, I will only say that I have a few Sigma lenses and have been very happy with them. Ryan also said, still rocking the 55. So am I, mate. Love that lens. Absolutely love it. The Happy Clamp said, Sony firmware updates are a rumor. Yeah, so let's see what happens. But if they do release that firmware update for the A7 IV and they leave out the A1 and the A7S III, it's not good. It's not good at all. Terry said, good morning. G'day, Terry. How are you, mate? What a pleasant surprise. Hi, David, Matt said. Hi, Matt. How you going? Richard and Gloria said, for the A7 IV, I would love to see focus stacking feature. Would that work like exposure bracketing except manually shoot each photo? I'm not sure. It may be auto. I mean, the best thing would be if they could do it auto and not have to do it later in post. That would be the best thing about it. So, yes, it would be like a focus bracketing in exposure bracketing in that regard, and then hopefully it will combine them in post. If it just leaves them as files and then you have to go back later and do it in post, it's not as good. But we'll have to see what they do in that regard. I mean, the ultimate would be to be able to do focus stacking with an automatic, your autofocus lens, and then have it do it all for you. That would be fantastic if they could get it to do that. John said, yes, the Sigma 50mm is much, much bigger. Yes, it certainly is. And we've reached the end there, guys. It's only a really quick one today. I said I'd promise to be back each week, so, even if I only come on 15, 20 minutes, we'll do it. I'm going to finish this, by the way, and I'm going to go and have some lunch. Let me just see what John says here. Do cameras with in-camera focus stacking preserve the original image? When I stack in post, I can correct artifacts with the originals or copies. I'm not sure, John, because I never do it. Aaron may be able to chime in later because that's the thing he does all the time with jewelry, so he might be able to chime in later about that. So it'd be interesting to see. I think Panasonic cameras are able to do it. I think. I'm not sure, though, whether you still keep the original image or not. I don't know. I've got no idea at all, so it'll be interesting to find that out. Happy Claim just said thanks for the updates. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Check out that video though for that light. That light is just over $300 US, and it's nuts. It is crazy how powerful that light is, and it's my previous video before this. So check it out because, boy, and it's got a couple of great reflectors for it as well that are only $100 or something each. It's the prices we can get things now for the quality is nuts. All right, everyone. I'll catch you and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now, everyone. Have a great weekend, by the way.